Hello, this is the second episode of GreenCat.ai prompt testing. Today we are testing different LLMs to check which LLM is going to respond with the best output for our prompt. As you can see, the prompt is basically we are calculating the distance between different monuments in cities like London and Dubai, Taiwan, New York, Moscow, Mumbai, and Sydney. Monuments like the Big Ben, the Burj Khalifa, the Taipei 101, New York Freedom Tower, Kremlin building in Moscow, and then India Gate in Mumbai, and then Sydney Opera House. And we are asking the LLM to find the distance between these different buildings around the world. Also, we want to see what is the calculation to arrive at the distance, and then the next more difficult task is to find a flight path. We want to move from London and visit all these buildings, and we want to travel on the 1st of May 2025. So the second or the more difficult task is to find a flight path, and we're asking to get two different options. One is to have a flight path with the least cost, and the second option would be to give us a flight path where the travel time is the shortest. And then on top of that, we also want to get from the LLM a description or an explanation for an AI agent that could automate this travel booking. So we have progressively 4 or 5 different tasks, starting from the easier to the more difficult one. And we want to see how different LLM platforms provide us an output based on our prompt. And then based on that, we did some tests and we came up with some results. On the left hand side on our screen, you can see the scores that came up for different LLM platforms. Grok seems to do much better, as well as Google Gemini at this time, along with Deepseek close third. And then we have Microsoft Copilot, Claude, and Qwen in the second group of very similar performances. And then we have Chatgpt, Perplexity, and Cohere, which are in the third group. And then in the last, we have Meta, Mistral, AI, and Minimax. The scoring, the total number where we wanted to score max was a number 10. So essentially, Grok got 7 out of 10, and Gemini got 6.5 out of 10. And to add some situational awareness that was needed to arrive at the results, we added Moscow in our travel plans, and there are no direct flights at this time from London to Moscow, for example, or New York to Moscow because of the war. So there are certain travel restrictions, and we want to see whether any of these platforms are able to take into account this situational awareness that is present at this time or not, and that was also taken into account. So let's go quickly to see the results. I will just quickly go through the results. We have already done the prompts, and we have evaluated the different outcomes, but let's see how these prompts behave or have behaved in our testing. Let us start with Grok in the beginning. As you can see, when I gave this task, this calculation came back with these numbers. Let me start from just a quick summary of Grok. What are the good things and what are not so good? As you can see on the screen, we give it a prompt. Based on the prompt, it is giving us it is able to identify that there are certain landmarks that we are requesting in our prompt. There's the Big Ben, there's Burj Khalifa, there's Taipei 101, there's Freedom Tower, there's Kremlin, there's India Gate, Sydney Opera House. So then we asked for a method of calculation. It's using this Haversine formula. You can see the formula is there. It takes the latitude and longitude of these locations, and then using that those positions, it's able to do the calculations. As you can see, it's in kilometers and miles. It's giving a good number. And then, based on these calculations, the next step, level of difficulty, was to find a flight path. So it has identified which closest airports are there. And then it's looked at cost optimization and time optimization. For cost, it's doing London, Dubai, Mumbai, Taipei, Sydney, New York, Moscow, and London. And for time optimize, it's doing London to Moscow to Dubai, Mumbai, Taipei, Sydney, New York, and London. So a little bit of twist here. And then because the itinerary is for May 1st, it's looking at data that are estimates from April 2025. On the least cost, it's done these calculations. From London, it's going to Dubai, Dubai to Mumbai, and it's providing some cost numbers. There is a total cost of around $1850. Our manual checks show that it's a bit higher than this, but anyway, we have a certain number, which is this $1850. And then for the travel time, we can see that it has arrived. It has taken different flights. As you can see somewhere here, so you have London to Moscow. As you can see that it is mentioning a Aeroflot non-stop flight. This, in our view, is not taking into account the issue that there are flights between London and Moscow, or you cannot take a direct flight. The flights are not available at this time. So we would deduct a couple of points out of here because of this situational awareness not present in Grok itself. On the other hand, in the least cost situation, it actually went to New York to Moscow, but it flew via Turkish Airlines. It did not do a direct flight. So we are not sure that Grok 100% knows that there is no direct flight, because otherwise it could have taken a direct flight also. But at the same time, in the fastest flights, it is taking a direct flight out of as you can see, this London to Moscow flight. So we will have to deduct a couple of points here. Apart from that, we have certain notes about booking platforms. It's talking about Skyscanner, Cohere, Google Flights. It is saying how you can create an agent. Essentially, okay, you can start with a Skyscanner, and you can use this multi-city tool. And then he's also mentioning Hopper, which you can download at your phone and work through Hopper. And how to use it, essentially you have to give a multi-city itinerary, put in some preferences, and have some notifications. And then it's also talking about Trip.com's AI assistant. So more or less we have some kind of a solution. It's more or less wholesome. We are not very happy that it's not able to clearly say that there are no direct flights between London to Moscow or New York to Moscow. However, overall, we based on our criteria, we give it a 7 out of 10 for this. As you can see in our numbers, Grok came up with 7 out of 10. Let's take the next candidate that we had, which was Gemini. In Gemini, you can see in terms of the results, it's starting, let's say in the beginning, you can see it's doing the distance calculation. In the same way, it has these lat longs. It is doing this Haversine formula to do the calculations. However, it is not giving us the exact numbers. It's just saying this is the formula, so you calculate yourself. So we'll probably cut one of its points right here because it's not doing the actual calculation. It is looking at the flight information, and it's saying it's as of April 13th. So based on that, it picked up the data from April 13th, but then It's looking at flights from January 5th to January 11th. It looked at the actual flights, probably. And then it's talking about, it's checked what the cheapest flights are at different locations. Here, if you see, New York to Moscow is mentioning the cheapest one-way flight is about $800. It has multiple stops and there are no direct flights. So this actually shows that it is situationally aware, at least up to April of 2025, that the fastest flight available with a stop is about 13 hours because there's no direct flight available. So this is a positive that the LLM and in its background, the logic that Gemini is using is able to take into consideration that there are no direct flights available, and we would give it extra points for being able to locate that there are no direct flights. And then in the least cost, it's doing its calculations, coming up with a certain number, which is about let's say 2,800, which in our view is more or less close to what we have seen or what we have seen on different platforms. So the numbers are reasonable, and for the distance, for the least travel time, again, it is also looking at total travel time. It is 88 hours plus layover times. I think we could probably find flights which take less time than all of this, but we would give it the benefit of the doubt. And for the AI agent, it's talking about how to create an AI agent. You obviously need to gather requirements. You need to have real-time data access. You need to have some optimization to say, is it cost-based or time-based, etc. You need to do booking and confirmation. You need to handle the payments. Obviously, you need to have the name of the person and whatnot. And then if there are any alerts, you need to have contact information to receive the alerts. So overall, we think that Gemini seems to have had the situational awareness about the flights between Moscow and the Western countries, that there are no direct flights available, let's say Western Europe or US. But at the same time, it was not able to provide us the distance which we thought was the least difficult task. It is able to find the lat long, but then it's saying, okay, this is the formula and you go and calculate it yourself. I think it missed it. It was an easy step. If it had done that calculation and provided that also, it probably would have jumped above Grok, but because of that, it's a little bit less, and it's scoring 6.5. Next, we have Deepseek. Deepseek was able to get a score of 6 out of 10. This is our the Deepseek we found it is in third place for this particular prompt. As you can see, we have the same prompt going in. The good part on Deepseek is the reasoning. As you can see, it's doing, it's identified the locations. It knows that we are looking for this particular May 1st flight, and then least cost and travel time. It has looked at lat long coordinates, and based on that, it's done calculations, it's done distances. Well, if you see, it's done in one example calculation, but it's not providing the rest of the calculations. So we probably would subtract at least one point here that is not doing a complete calculation. And then it's looking at particular flights, and then it's mentioning, for example, here you can see London to Moscow is talking about Aeroflot. There is considering situational awareness, there are no direct flights between London to Moscow, so it looks like it's not able to find out, or let's say have that situational awareness in its calculation, and that's why it's not able to get the 3 points that we have allocated for situational awareness. And apart from that, it is mentioning about a multi-city Google Flight multi-city tool, or the Sky Scanner. It's also talking about the Tripit or Hopper. You can automate what you need to have an API key, and you can create an itinerary, and then you can use a Sky Scanner with Python, and you probably would be able to get some kind of a booking, and then it's mentioning visa requirements and layover times. So this is more or less, and then we made a second iteration just to confirm this. And in the second iteration, as you can see, Deepseek somehow was able to calculate the distance between the cities, and then it's doing the calculations in terms of the numbers. It's saying between 800 to 2200. So the least cost seems to be somewhere around 2200. Our estimate is around 2800. And then in terms of the distance, it's talking about 55 hours. And then again, for AI agents, it's mentioning Google Flights, Hopper, Tripit, Skyscanner, etc. So in the second iteration, it was able to provide the distance calculation that it wasn't able to do in the first place. So overall, we think we have allocated it 6 points. We probably are a little bit generous with it, but we did want it to have a situational awareness of a direct flight London to Moscow. That is not working, but that it was not able to get, and because of that, it is number 3 in our ranking. The fourth one in our ranking would be Claude. On Claude, you can see when we gave it our instructions, our prompt, it was able to pull out the lat longs, and then again, calculation is Heversine formula. So LLMs, mathematical calculations, every LLM seems to do easily, pulling up these lat longs and doing the calculation. In some cases, it just seems to be lazy in some LLMs, but here, as you can see, it's doing a very nice matrix in Claude. It's providing distances between different locations in a matrix so that you can find direct one-to-one calculation. In terms of the itinerary, you can see that it's also able to understand that we're talking about the Big Ben and the Kremlin. So these are different monuments, and then it's also mentioning, okay, here you can stay overnight in Moscow, and overnight in Dubai, or overnight in if you visit Burj Khalifa here, you spend another night in Dubai. So essentially, it's trying to arrange like a travel agent, so it seems to have a personality, a little bit of a personality of a travel agent, which we like. And then after all these travels, it's also doing the shortest time itinerary, and then for the shortest time is saying about 9 to 12,000. It seems to be pretty high, but only probably it might, because it is considering it to be business class flights or direct flights. So that's why the number for the direct flights seem to be pretty high at 12,000. And then for the budget flights, it's between 35 to 4,500, which a little bit high. We think it's around 3,000, but it's still a good number. And beyond this, it is for automation. It says, okay, you need to access multiple airlines. You need to have these APIs. You need to compare prices. You need to handle passport and visas, and you need to have flight connections, layover times. The agent should be able to do take these different parameters and do these bookings. So it is just giving a general concept. It is not giving us a particular suggestion about this or that agent. So overall, I think because of that, Claude for us scored about 5 points. Generally, we like what we see. However, we don't see the situational awareness, which is 3 points less. And then overall for the AI agent, it just gives a concept, but didn't suggest any particular agents. So based on that, Claude has scored about 5 points. After Claude, we have Qwen. And this is an Alibaba product, as you know. So for Qwen, same task was given, and Qwen was able to break it down into different steps and then do these calculations, find the lat longs, use the same formula, is doing the calculations more or less, and then it's explaining how it did the calculation. Then it's talking about the least cost and the least travel time. It's about 2,500 pounds, which is roughly $3,000, so more or less accurate. Again, New York to Moscow, it's talking about a direct flight. Direct flights at this time, or even in the last year, they are not working. So this means that it is not situationally aware about these limitations. So that those extra 3 points it would not be able to, let's say, gather. Apart from that, it is total travel time is talking about 78 hours, and the cost about $3,000. So more or less in the ballpark number. And then for automation, it's talking about, okay, you can use Skyscanner, Google Flights, or Kayak, and then you need to input all these details, compare options, and book tickets, etc. And then there's a workflow. So overall, for us, Qwen is scoring 5 points. For the agent, AI agent, it's not able to give a very detailed answer, and then also it was not situationally aware about the flight limitations between Western Europe and Moscow. So based on that, Qwen, I think we are considering it as average or giving it 5 points. Next to Qwen is Microsoft Copilot. We are a little bit surprised that it did not score more than what we see it here. However, as you can see, what are the results? We give it a prompt. It's doing calculating the distance, has all the lat longs, is able to provide this distance between one city to another, and then it's about the flights. It's considering May 1st as January 5th, so it's taking the date in a day first, and then month in the second item, which is more or less okay. But let's see whether it's able to find about those blocked direct flights from Moscow to some other cities. As you can see, it's taking two sample itineraries, and then it's mentioning this is how much it's going to cost. As you can see, New York to Moscow is talking about 12-hour flight. So it's talking about one stop, so which is kind of good. It's not talking about direct flight here, and the cost is about $1,500, which in our view is probably less than what it is much less than what I think it is. Shortest travel time wise, it's talking about total time about 58 hours or 60 hours plus, and the total cost being 3,000, which I think is really low considering that these are direct flights. And again, it's talking about New York Moscow direct flight of 10 hours, which the flight is not, this flight is not there. So Copilot cannot score those 3 points that we would have allocated for situational awareness. And then for automated travel booking, it's talking about you can use Amadeus, Sabre, Travelport to collect live fares, and then you need to pull the data, optimize based on your options, and then it's saying you need to have verification, you need to do further optimization, or to do reordering, you have to do real-time integration, etc. So it is giving some additional information, but it's not aware, as we said, about the twist that we have added in our prompt. So overall, to us, it looks like it scores about 5 points and not more for the prompt that we provided. Next, we have Chatgpt. Again, just for your reference, this is the prompt. We want to calculate the distance between these different monuments. We want it to explain us how this distance is calculated. We need to find a flight path starting May 1st, and then we need two travel itineraries, one with the least cost and other with the shortest travel time. And again, we want the LLM to tell us there is an AI agent that we can use to automate. And then there is a catch or a twist, which is related to situational awareness, that Moscow direct flights are restricted due to war. So this is our prompt that we have given to all of these LLMs to see which one performs better in terms of the level of difficulty we have provided, and then based on the different tasks that we have given, we want to see how the cumulative scores are, and based on those scores we rank how the LLMs perform as compared to each other. Next, we are talking about ChatGPT. As you can see, we gave the same items to ChatGPT. ChatGPT for this task seems to underperform, and we thought that it would perform much better, but it hasn't. So as you can see here, it is using the same formula. It's using the lat longs, and it's using this travel May 1st, and it's talking about cost and flight durations. And then for the least cost option, after it does its calculation, it comes up with an estimation with a particular number. It's talking about 8 to 12 cents per kilometer, and the total distance is 25,000 kilometers. If you look at 10 cents per kilometer, then the cost comes out to be $2,500, but it's not giving us a actual cost. It's just giving us a distance and then an average, so about $2,500 to $3,000. In terms of the travel time, it's giving us this distance, and the total travel time seems to be 51 hours, which seems to be a bit short. Whereas if you look at so overall, this is what we get out of this. And for the automated booking with an AI agent, is talking about the okay, you need to have these flight data, you need to have the airline APIs, and you can do the itinerary optimization, and then the workflow. You need to have the data of the traveler, and then what preferences are there, and then you have to do a route calculation, you have to do some optimization, you have to do some review, and then you have to do the actual booking. So overall, if you look at it in summary, in the first one, as you see, least cost is doing a calculation, is coming up with 36 hours, which seems to be not accurate. Whereas if you can see in terms of the shortest travel time, you see is talking about 51 hours, which in our view is about at least 60 hours, but still this number should be fine. But in terms of the least cost, you look at the estimated flight time is 36 hours. So to us, that seems to be absolutely not accurate. So here you can see it's doing 4 plus 5 plus 3.5, 8.5, and 15. The same number below, 4, 5, 3.5, 8.5, 10, and 20. And here it's only mentioning 15. It's talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 flights, and here it's talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flights, and we had given it 7 cities, so it should be at least 6 flights. So miscalculation here in terms of the estimated flight time. So in our view, based on the limitations that we see, and plus we have not seen it use the situational awareness about the issue with the flights going into Moscow from Western Europe, London, or New York City. It is mentioning that the AI agent would retrieve real-time data from airline databases and to do the optimization. But overall, in our view, compared to the other LLMs, the results are not that great. Especially we had this miscalculation here, and then we also see that the flights are being provided, which are not London to Moscow, for example. For our flight, this flight is not working. So ChatGPT, in our view, should have known that this was the limitation. So overall, ChatGPT scored 4, which is quite poor in our view. Next, we have Perplexity. Same question to Perplexity. As you can see how Perplexity has behaved. You can see that it's done the same calculation. It's giving a little bit of a description about each of these monuments. So it is kind of aware that we are trying. So we are looking at it from a tourist point of view. It's explaining a little bit about the Big Ben, a little bit about the Burj Khalifa, talking about the Taipei 101, the Freedom Tower, the Moscow Kremlin. So it's talking about the monuments itself, and the Sydney Opera House, for example, it's the most recognizable building. So this is kind of positive that it is able to detect that it's the intention is basically to find more about these monuments. There's a distance calculation, but we don't see the actual distance. It's just giving us a distance formula, and for the flight cost, it's giving us an estimate. $300 plus 7 cents per kilometer, but it's not. It's giving us this itinerary again, and in this case, New York to Moscow, it's flying in, and then it's estimated about $4,000, which is a little bit higher in our view, and then 34 hours, the travel time seems to be a little bit low. And with the shortest travel time, you see it's 34.45 for the shortest travel time, and it's also 34.45 for the least cost. So it's giving the same cost and the same travel time in both cases, which is kind of a fallacy in our view. We clearly asked it to look at two different travel itineraries, and the answer that it is providing has the same travel time and the same cost, so it doesn't make sense. So it's not able to distinguish. And then for the AI agent, it's talking about okay, this is how you can develop an AI agent, and these are the processes you can use. There are some practicalities, there's some conclusions, there's some discussions, and then there's some other related topics that you can go further. So overall, based on what we were looking for, I think we were able to provide it a score of 4 out of 10 and not more, because it's not able to find the limitations, and then for the least cost and travel times, it's not able to distinguish. So 4 out of 10 is the score that it was able to get. Next is we have a Cohere. For Cohere also, Cohere is also scoring about 4 out of 10. We will quickly go through what it has. It has the lat longs, it has the distance, and then it's able to find about 2500 to 3500, so the number is more or less correct. The estimated travel time is 48 to 60 hours, more or less. This is more or less correct. For the agent, it doesn't talk a lot about what could be done, and then it has some information, but not a lot. So basically, in our view, it is, and also it is not situationally aware about those Moscow to London or Moscow to New York flights. So we think that we were not able to give it a high score based on our calculations and our assumptions. So Cohere is at 4. Next to Cohere is Meta. This is a little bit of a surprise for us. We were expecting Meta to score much higher, but as you can see, it's talking about the lat longs, it's doing the distance calculations between the points. For the least cost, it's just mentioning here are the connections that you can take, but it's going JFK to Moscow. It's talking about Aeroflot, and there's no Aeroflot direct flights at this time. And then the shortest itinerary again, JFK to Moscow, is talking about direct flights. So it looks like he's not aware that there are no direct flights there. He's not actually providing us any flight plans or any particular flights. And then there's a general discussion about AI agents and how you could do automation. So overall, in our view, with our very detailed question and particular task that we wanted it to answer, it's just done the basic stuff, which is basically distance calculation and just linking the different points or airports, mentioning just the airports, and that's about it. So Meta just scored 3 out of 10 in our view, and we expected it to score much higher, but it hasn't. Just the other two companies that we would talk about is Mistral. Mistral has scored 2 out of 10. Again, you can see distance formula is talking about lat long. It says there's this distance formula. It says go and calculate yourself. Well, it's taken some coordinates and it has given an example to say how to calculate it. And then for the flight path and itineraries, is just say to create it, you would typically use a travel planning tool, so it doesn't want to go any much further. It hasn't done any research for it. And then for the AI agent, is just talking in general that there are different agents that you could use, but it doesn't say a lot about them. So in our view, Mistral is just scoring 2 out of 10. And then the last one in our let's say testing today is Minimax. Minimax, same thing. We gave it the different our prompt, and as you can see, it's not able. It is able to find the lat longs, have the formula, and then is giving an estimate about the cost. It's saying about 4,000, and then for the shortest travel time, it's saying about 70 hours, and then to automate. It's just giving a logic on how to calculate it. Again, has no situational awareness. And in terms of the calculations, it's not actually giving us the calculation. It's giving us a formula, but not actually doing the calculation. And then for the cost, has given us a price for a price, and then also is given us the time, but for automation it hasn't provided us much, and it is not aware that you can't have these direct flights, like for example New York to Moscow. 9-hour flight time is not correct if you are taking flights through multiple stops or at least one stop. Same thing about so overall, I think the numbers for Minimax also, we would probably give it 2 or maybe a 3. So this is our summary for the different companies that we tested. Going back to where we are, we have a prompt, and then we had certain situational awareness. We had a twist in our prompt. We gave it from a easy, calculating the distance, to a mid-level task, finding flight paths, identifying airports and finding flight paths, and then creating cost and distance-based itineraries, and then recommending an AI agent. And then we had this situational awareness twist, which had 3 points in our calculation. That is the LLM able to find from its investigations that there are limitations due to the ongoing war, and we found that the 3 winners essentially are Grok, Gemini, and Deepseek. We are impressed by Gemini, which is able to find out that there is limitations on direct flights. But it was not able to score even higher because of a little bit less information about the AI agent, and then a little bit lacking in terms of the least time calculations for its flights. But otherwise, Grok also did very well, but it was a little bit less aware as compared to Gemini about the limitation of the flight. But overall, Grok did quite well, so it scored 7 and Gemini 6.5. I think these two companies, Gemini and Grok, seem to be doing quite well. Deepseek is a little bit behind, does not have the situational awareness, but otherwise it has a certain breadth in terms of its output. And apart from this, the top 3, Grok, Gemini, and Deepseek, The second group which is trying to catch up is Copilot, Claude, and Qwen. And the one that we are really not very happy to see is Chatgpt, which scored only 4, and Meta, which only scored 3. So in summary, this is our second test of prompt testing for LLMs. I hope you have enjoyed our testing, and please provide your feedback in comments or direct emails to our company, greencat.ai, as we build our capability to do more detailed testing. Our intention is to find which are the better LLMs and which LLMs are performing better than others, and then we are planning to do additional tests related to more text-based prompts, and then audio generation, video generation, and data analytics, and calculations, computations, and also code generation. But at this time, we think that Grok and Gemini seem to be going much ahead. Deepseek is following, and we hope that ChatGPT does much better from where it is right now. Have a good night, and let's follow up with another analysis next time. Thanks, and bye-bye.